The genesis of Raxia. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then, 3 primordial blades carved a world into existence. This world would become known as Raxia, and the blades would be heralded as the Swords of Genesis. These 3 swords, Lumiere, the Sword of Harmony, Ignis, the Sword of Freedom, and Cardia, the Sword of Mana, each possess their own ideologies and a deep yearning to be wielded. At first the world was a silent wilderness. Then the swords filled the land with plant life, but these plants lacked the intelligence to hold a blade. Then they created animals, but their minds were too simple. Finally they brought forth mythical beasts like dragons and sphinxes. These creatures were smart enough, but far too powerful to ever need a weapon. Thus, the swords created fragile beings, intelligent enough to grasp a sword, yet weak enough to require its power for survival. Humans. The divine civilization and the first gods. For a long time, humans lived only for survival, unaware of the sword's existence. This changed when a man named Lyphos, who valued goodness and harmony, discovered Lumiere in a remote location. By touching the sword, he became the first ancient god of Raxia. Thus began the era now known as the Schnell period, or the Age of the Divine Civilization. Lyphos shared his divinity, allowing his trusted allies to touch the sword. This gave rise to new gods and new races. Lyphos' best friend Tidin became the sun god and created the optimistic Soleils. Grendel became the blazing emperor and forged the muscular dwarves. And Asteria became the goddess of fairies, creating elves in her own image. Guided by these gods, the races lived in harmony and cooperation in an era of peace. The War of the Gods. The divine peace was shattered by the discovery of the remaining swords. A scholar named Kilhia found Cardia and became the god of wisdom. Far more disastrously, a warrior named Dalcrum found Ignis. Dalcrum, now the god of war, believed that power should not be shared, but hoarded by the strong. Dalcrum created his army by scarring the souls of his human followers, transforming them into the barbarous races, drakes, lizardmen, goblins, ogres, and many more. The process of soul scarring granted them all immense power, but twisted their very existence. Dalcrum's violent betrayal of Lyphos initiated the War of the Gods, a conflict which eventually ground to a brutal stalemate. The shattering of Cardia. Both sides sought to break the deadlock by claiming the third sword Cardia, but the sword resisted being used as a weapon of war. Cardia sacrificed itself, shattering across the planet to prevent either faction from seizing its power. This act released mana into the world, for the first time allowing everyone the opportunity to use magic. Before this, the only possible magic was divinely granted by the gods themselves. This influx of mana also gave birth to fairies, and allowed Asteria to create the first fairy magic. But despite the destruction of Cardia, the war continued. Finally, the gods, spent and wounded, retreated to rest in a place known as Heaven. The Durandal era, or the Magic Civilization. After the gods left, their battle-hardened angels, the Astrade, went mad and rampaged across the world. This pre-Durandal world was a time of death, where no nation lasted as much as a century. A noble elf named Durandal ended this despair by systematizing the first magics, true speech, spiritualism, and deep magic, to wipe out the Astrade. As the first wizard king, Durandal used the power of dominion to unite and rule the survivors. After his 500-year reign, his disciples spread his teachings, but the era eventually fractured into warring states ruled by blue-blood wizard kings. These rulers used dominion to control massive legions of constructs and undead. The era met a cataclysmic end when the Wizard Kings successfully opened a portal to the demon world, creating the Abyss that nearly swallowed the continent. The Alminas era, or the Magitech civilization. In the dark age that followed the fall of the Wizard Kings, a new philosophy began to emerge: magic for the masses. This birthed the Magitech civilization, which fused technology with magic to create magical tools like magispheres, guns, and flying ships. Magitech was so powerful that the barbarous tribes were driven underground, marking 1,700 years of unprecedented peace and prosperity on the surface. The Diabolic Triumph. humanoids became reliant on their machines, building vast railroad networks and maintenance-free cities. But this complacency was their undoing. This golden age ended 300 years ago with the diabolic triumph, also known as the Great Cataclysm. A massive natural disaster paralyzed magic across Raxia, leaving the complacent humanoids defenseless. And the barbarous who had spent centuries plotting revenge seized the moment and destroyed the magitech civilization. This invasion only stopped when a hero miraculously, and some say through the force of a previously unknown fourth sword of Genesis named Fortuna, felled the barbarous king. The present. In the wake of this destruction, society reverted to a medieval development level. Much of their technical know-how was lost with the destruction of the cities. Currently, Raxia is covered in ruins from all of these past civilizations layered beneath modern feet. The ancient gods are still sleeping, though followers can still receive their blessings through prayer. In the present era, around 300 years after the fall of the Almena civilization, researchers are working hard to recover lost magitech. A few places have restored magitech trains or flying ships, but most are simply scraping valuables from the ruins. The barbarous still roam the land, and the world is still in constant need of skilled adventurers to recover lost treasures and protect the surviving nations. This era is the Age of Adventure.